Hey guys, and welcome back to the Renaissance Room podcast. And in today's episode, I just wanted to come on and share a testimony. You guys know that my Patreon is coming soon, and that's pretty much where we're going to have a bit of a hub, kind of like a community where we just sit and we talk about our gifts and we share resources. And it's more so just to bring people together. I know that today we're just in a time where we're super isolated. I know for a lot of people who are intellectuals, who may not have like this college degree and this PhD, it's very hard for us to connect with one another, right? When you go to college, there's this one track way, right? So you meet people along the way. You guys are pretty closely knitted in. And sometimes it doesn't happen that way. But oftentimes I've found that the Black intellects who did not take that path, we need a space where we can connect and commune. And so that's what the Patreon is going to be about. I'm looking forward to it. But I wanted to come on here today and talk to you guys about the importance of giving God your gifts. Growing up, I was a very gifted child, and even still to this day, it's like anything I put my mind to with God, I know it's possible. I was actually singing for someone, and they noticed my voice. It was like, wow, like you kind of got some vocals. And it's funny because for me, I'll never sound like Aretha Franklin. I'll never be an Anita Baker. But it's just funny because, I felt like if I really wanted to do it, I could do it, and I was looking into like vocal lessons and, those are just some of the hobbies and things I just be tapping into because it's fun, and and let me just say this too, because I encourage you guys to like find goals that were outside of achievement. I even wrote down this year what I wanted in relationships, right? How I wanted to show up better in relationships and be a good steward over the people that God had sent into my life. Because, I had a lot of seasons in my life where I was lonely. There were a lot of seasons in my life where I wish I had a friend or I wish I had someone to talk to. And I didn't always have that. And so, God blessing me with people in my life, gleaning back from past experiences, maturing and so forth. You just want to make sure that like, you're being a good steward over what you prayed for and you're not taking it for granted. I value connection. I value the lives of human beings, I think that everybody has a purpose and, just it's a beautiful thing. So that was some of the things I tapped into. But I know a lot of times people think that having like a fun life or living this type of life is like tapping into, just like all these different things like partying and drinking and, the people equate that type of stuff to fun. But like I referenced, tapping into like vocal lessons and just doing things that I always wanted to do as a child. I was going to say kid. As a child, I think that like adulting is kind of like tying into reparentification, but I think a big part of it is just like, it's just, if you're a creative person, it's just kind of like keeping that spirit in you alive, and you know what I mean? And it's just kind of tapping into those things and getting yourself the resources you need and just having fun with it. Like, I think that that's kind of how you navigate adulthood. And I don't think that, fun always has to be this outlandish, crazy stuff, like you can have fun in your own space. You can have fun with Christ, So I wanted to come on here and share with you guys, like, being a writer, being someone who's super gifted. Last season, the devil really tempted me. And a lot of times when we make these type of like moves, some people, you go so far and it's like you believe it and you fall into the trap of the enemy. And of course, there's a snare, and we know that leads to the path of death. But the devil really was tempting me last season, with my gifts and things like that. I felt like just the promises of money, fame, all these different things. And it always sounds so good in theory, especially when you're broke. It just so happened last season. Looking back, I just realized God had me in such a crushing season. I had prayed for certain things, but God had stripped so much away from me, and I just was like in a really, really vulnerable situation. I felt like I had nothing. Like I wasn't close to my friends at the time. Like we wasn't really connected in that season. So I didn't have any fellowship. I had lost my job. I had lost my place. Like I had lost everything, so I was really, really down and out, but I had my gifts and there were opportunities that came and were presented to me, but it was going to cost me something. And I think we don't listen to, people who are in a certain space when they're gifted uplifted. We don't really want to listen. Like we more so want to be entertained. So we don't really like take the time to listen to what it is that they're actually saying in their lyrics and what it is that they're actually conveying, and just how dangerous and like otherworldly it can be when you take them type of risks with your gifts and you're walking with the devil. Like, you're not gonna have no covering, and anything is up for grabs, and it just comes with so much. And so I wanted to just get on here and encourage y'all to like give your gifts to God. It's so like literally praising Jesus is so cool, you guys. Like, I cannot stress that enough. The amount of peace, the amount of joy, the amount of just like the things that really matter in life. Like, it's something about that internal glory. It's something about that internal fulfillment that is just like, you can never get that from this world. You know what I mean? Like, to have a sense of peace, to have a sense of gratitude, to have real friends in your life to where you're not looking over your shoulder and you're not, questioning these people, and, y'all unequally yoked and you got to constantly look over your shoulder and you're constantly being betrayed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a completely different experience. And I really hope that you guys get to experience it. So give your gifts to God, like, and allow God to show you the way, and understand too, like, when we talk about money, I need you guys to really, really start doing the numbers on these things. Like, I don't even think people realize how much money they just be asking for. And I think that too, it's funny to me because it's like, so much of what we desire in earthly realms and like earthly things, so materialism, all of that stuff is really for other people. It's social status, it's social, you know what I mean? It's like, it's political statements. We're not really desiring these things for our own time. Like, we don't really, and I think everyone's saying they want to be a billionaire. It's like, sit and think about how much a billionaire makes. One thing that I really, and you may not need that much money in your lifetime, but one thing I really dislike about, a lot of people who kind of be like blasphemous a little bit about Christians and like how Christians don't really tap into money, which y'all got to understand is white people have social, they have power in the government. They have power over resources, right? And so like, you have to realize, like, when you start making a certain amount of money, you got a lot of different type of spirits tapping into that. You got a lot of different type of people tapping into that. So I think a lot of times people ask for things out of ignorance. And that's why I say that contentment breeds maturity. When you're making your own money and you're doing your own thing, it's fine. But when you partnering with these big companies, these corporations, they got you pretty much promoting pride and all these different things that you may not stand for. Y'all ever notice just how today anybody who's partnered with a large corporation, they don't have a say? You can't possibly tell me that you the type of person to let everything go. That's not real. That doesn't mean that you're not loving. That just means that, okay, you have an opinion. You're a person, right? And you stand on something. You're a person, and you don't have to agree with everything that people agree with. Like, y'all got to realize that today we're being pushed into collectiveness. Like, everybody has to think the same way. You say one wrong thing, it's like, you see what I mean? Like, you're a target, because it's like the world is moving in one way, and if you decide to turn around and be like, wait a minute, why are we going this way? People are they're not going to like that. So you may not have certain partnerships, or you may not be in certain spaces, but that doesn't mean you're not successful. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you're not fulfilling your purpose. And so it's just important for you guys to tap in and realize that, and like, understand that everything costs. And when it comes to certain type of success and things like that you may be desiring, just realize like what you're asking for. It comes at the expense of you. I'll never forget, I was sitting in my journalism class, and my professor was like, okay, what are you guys willing to give up to like be a journalist? And at this point, I'm like shook, because I'm like, what you talking about giving up? Like, what you like, that's not what I signed up for. Like, what type of initiation, And he just was like, being a journalist, working for certain corporations, you have contracts. You can't say certain things. I remember being in a news station, and one of the reporters or head reporters or whatever, and he just was talking about how, when you go and cover certain stories, you don't give an opinion. You don't give your opinion on social media. You don't stand for certain things. You tell people that you're neutral. And I think about how many people have been neutralized but dumbed down and morphed into whatever the system is playing right now. And y'all have to realize that, like, staying true to yourself and realize, like, when it comes to money, money comes and money goes. As long as your needs being met, find purpose within other things. We're getting older. Life passes by. I'm not telling you that it's okay to struggle, but I mean, if you're being a good steward over your finances, God ain't gonna have you out here struggling anyway. Like, He's gonna bless you with more, but like, y'all gotta pay y'all dues. One thing I know for sure, if you want God's blessings, be prepared to be humbled, prepared to go through seasons of humility, prepared for your life to be turned upside down, because God's about to test you. See, God's not no sucker. Like, God's not finna be out here blessing you and you out here showing out. Like, that's not the blessings of the Lord. People like that, you can just tell that's not the blessings of the Lord, because God don't play like that. If you want God's blessings, prepare to be humbled. And y'all got to realize it's so much easier just to side with the devil and go out and do your own worldly type of things, because God crushes you. God is going to crush you. He's going to prepare you. I'm at this point in my life because I feel like what I went through, the blessings that's coming in this year, I'm so grateful for these blessings. But when I tell y'all, God has humbled my heart so greatly. I'm not really moved by these things. I'm more so praising Him for peace. I'm more so praising Him for restoring my joy and my happiness. Like, y'all, if y'all knew what it took, see, that's why a lot of people don't get their gifts to God. Because if y'all knew what it took, if you knew what it was going to cost you. You see what I mean? Like, God is not no sucker. A lot of people say what they want about Christians, but better believe their hearts be in the right space when it's really God and like God's anointing is on their life, period. And it's a certain type of peace that surpasses all understanding. All hell is breaking loose on this earth right now. It's funny because I was just watching this video with Lil Nas X, and he was at the Grammys. He said, I want to thank the gay agenda, and everybody clapped. Nobody raised no red flags. I didn't hear no journalists cover these type of topics. Y'all think it's crazy. Like, y'all think that we playing out here. Like, y'all think that they're playing. Like, this is real. This is literally real. Like, it's just the start of it. Y'all see what I'm saying? People talk about New World Order. The New World Order is people doing and going one way, just like how everyone went with the COVID shots. It's like wars here, it's wars about the gay people, wars about the straight. Like, it's just crazy. So don't play with it. And don't be fearful. That just takes time. Like, when you mature in Christ, you can just tap into these things and, you'll just be fine. But I wasn't always like that. I definitely had to grow in Christ and mature, but I was always willing to listen, because I did see certain things going on in the world. I'm like, wow, this is kind of crazy, but everything calls. So just be mindful. And I think if you're in that space right now, like, just give your life to Christ and He'll guide you, and I feel really good. I feel very blessed. I feel very happy and content and joyous and, prosperous, because I know, anything that I put my hands to, God will bless, but it's more so about the kingdom at this point for me. It's more so about having, being used by God and being like a servant, God's blessings it's so much better than anything this world could ever have to offer. I remember last season when I was going through what I was going through. I remember my papa telling me, he said, what good is a mansion if it's not God's mansion? What good is a mansion if God's not in there? And I don't think people realize that. I be seeing these big old empty houses that people be having on Instagram with their kids and their husbands, and that's not for everybody. Like, it's just some people. I ain't seen like that many, but like, you could just tell, like, it don't even look like a home. Some of that stuff to be looking so staged, like it looks like an Airbnb. It's like, we live in a world where bigger and better is always the key. But don't take for granted grace. Don't take for granted your loved ones. Don't take for granted the people in your life who, support you and humble you and love you unconditionally. Grandparents and parents and siblings. Like, don't take those things for granted. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Even if I never seen $1 million in my life, like, I would be okay with that. You know what I mean? And so I think it's just more so like giving your life to Christ and just, whatever God want to bless you with, it may be that. It may be more than that. But just know that if you want the blessings of the Lord, it's going to cost you. But I want to encourage y'all to give your lives to Christ. Like, think about everybody who's ever been gifted, what they had to go through. I know a lot of times we look at these people's lives and we kind of just take for granted, what was kind of like represented and what was shown to us. We want to kind of buy into other things, but it's spiritual. You know, you look at Michael Jackson, you look at Tupac. I believe Tupac probably would have still been here. You know, he seemed like he had a good understanding, but it's just like that foundation, you know. And we know death is inevitable, so I'm definitely not here to say like, oh, people who are gifted die, blah blah blah, like everybody dies. Like, nobody knows when our time is up. You know, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is like circumstances and the people that be around you and the different spirits that be on you, like, it's different, you know. And I always hold a space of empathy and understanding for people, because I know how tempting it is to be in the hood and to be in situations where you can't provide for yourself, and, you know, someone pulls up in a limousine or whatever, and, you know, they got this deal or whatever, and they're promising you thousands of dollars for your gift, you know, talking about how we can make so much money, how these dreams could come true, and you go back home and you may got, you know, eviction notices or whatever, and it's like you just be like, you know what, I'm about to just take a chance, you know. So I completely understand, but just get your heart in the right space and just know that God will provide for you. And it's like, you know, I'm telling you, my seasons of lost have brought me so close to Christ. Like, it's just such a blessing. You know, I'm so grateful. I say this all the time. Like, I'm just so grateful that he chose me. You know, I'm so grateful that he didn't give me over to the hands of the enemy, you know, because everything that I love was like, I just couldn't imagine losing that all for the sake of like fame or money or whatever. You know what I mean? So if you feel me, you feel me. But I just want to encourage y'all to give y'all gifts to Christ. You know, allow him to protect you and guide you and steward you. It's a lot of hungry people in this world. You know, a lot of people carrying a whole lot of things. The devil is real. So have faith. Have faith, but definitely give your life to Christ and just watch what he do for you. You know, watch how your life change. Watch how you change and you become someone who is just so graceful, so loving, and like truly reflected in his image. And there's no greater love. There's truly no greater love. So hope you guys enjoyed this podcast episode. Peace.